Hello and welcome back to the Niche Website Builder Show. Today, with the launch of the Make Lemonade Marketplace. If you haven't checked it out already, makelemonade.agency. We're going to talk about website due diligence and the process that we go through, or if you'd like to do it yourself, that we suggest you go through to do some analysis on a website if you're thinking about making an acquisition. So things we're going to cover are things like the revenue analysis, the traffic and analysing that too, and the domain history. We're also going to look at content and backlink analysis as well as identifying the opportunities within the niche. And we're going to wrap it up with some quick wins. So hopefully, if you're looking at buying or selling a website, this will be of interest to you. And I'm just going to keep it short and sweet and hand you over to the show.
Are you ready to get serious about building a profitable brand online? Welcome to the Niche Website Builders Podcast. We bring you the latest field-tested tips, tricks, and strategies for building a profitable online business. We interview industry experts, share customer success stories, and reveal our own experiences working on hundreds of sites to inspire and motivate you to make something happen. This podcast is brought to you by Make Lemonade. Whether you've launched your business yesterday or you're already a market leader, Make Lemonade will help you rule your world. Head over to makelemonade.agency/show for the latest offers on our services. Let's do this.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Niche Website Builders Show. Hope everyone out there is doing well. Got my co-host here, Adam. How you doing, Adam?
I'm doing good, thank you. I'm a little bit out of breath. I just ran down the stairs to put the cat in his where he stays, in his room essentially. He's stopping meowing halfway through this.
So, yeah, it's been a while since Adam and I did this. Planning on doing it a little bit more often. We've got some good stuff to talk about today. We're talking about website due diligence, and I guess that's front of mind for us. If you haven't checked out the rebrand yet, we rebranded, if you don't know already, from Niche Website Builders to Make Lemonade. Podcast is still called Niche Website Builders because that's the focus of the podcast. But so we're going to talk today about website due diligence. It's front of mind for us because as part of that rebrand, we also launched a website marketplace. And right now, for a limited time, if you have a site that you want to sell on the marketplace, then we're offering an incredibly low 3.5% commission on that. And so you just need to get in. It's a time limited time. We haven't got a time frame set on it yet, but we want to fill up our marketplace with some great sites. So we're quite strict with the sites that we allow on. But if your site's good, you can list it with us and we'll sell it for only 3.5% commission, as I say. The other thing that's worth mentioning is that we, as part of that sort of rebrand and new services that we're offering, we're also offering a website concierge service. And what that entails is that if you're looking to buy a site, then we will help you do that. So, and that's basically comes down to a number of things. So what we'll do is we'll help you source relevant sites. And that's not just on our own marketplace, right? So we'll take a look at the sites that are on our marketplace, but we'll go to every other marketplace that's out there, such as Empire Flippers and FE International, and we'll go and dig out and find the best opportunities based on what the scope of the website is that you want, or what you're interested in, based on your budget and the conversations that we have up front to discuss what works with your specific criteria. Then we'll go ahead and do the due diligence on that website for you. We'll assist you during any calls that you have with the seller and with the broker. We'll help you migrate the site. We'll help you with negotiations. So we'll make sure that we kind of negotiate the best deal for you on that site. And then we'll provide ongoing support through the entire process. So it's a full kind of service that if you just want that extra peace of mind, we've bought and sold lots of sites kind of over time, so we kind of know what we're doing, know what to look for, know how to negotiate, then that's something that we can help you with. So if you're interested in that and our new marketplace, head over to the Make Lemonade website, which is, you can find it at makelemonade.agency, and head over to the investing in website section, and you'll find the marketplace and the concierge service. That's enough of the sales pitch, hopefully. So what we'll do today is we'll talk to you. Is front of mind, as I say, a website due diligence. We've kind of the process that we've put together for ourselves. But we're going to talk through and share that today. So I'm going to kind of hand over to Adam, and we can have a conversation about website due diligence and what you need to look out for.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So if anybody's listening on the podcast, there's also a presentation which I'm going to share. So if you are listening on the podcast and you want to see the presentation, it's probably best to head over to our YouTube channel, where this is also going to be published. But essentially, website due diligence comes down to just a number of factors. We're going to cover them all today, and why they're important, and what we look for, what we kind of discount, and also what we don't discount but maybe seen as either growth opportunities or even red flags. So all of them as individuals can be seen as, a good bit or a bad point, but you've got to take them all as a whole, essentially, as a holistic picture. So I'm going to share my screen right now. Share my screen, and hopefully you can see the presentation, website due diligence, everything you need to know. I'm going to make it full screen. Awesome. So Mark's already mentioned this, but I put this in my presentation anyway. We've launched our Make Lemonade marketplace. It's essentially for sites that are making over $200 per month. So not starter sites, but sites with a fairly low revenue cap. We've got the special offer at the moment for low success fees of 3.5%. There's a low 45-day exclusivity period, so you're not tied with us for some time. There's industry-leading 70% revenue thresholds to keep buyers protected. And what that means is basically during the transition and the negotiation and the migration, once the sale has been agreed, as long as the revenue stays within 70% of the average, then the deal can go through. If it drops, such as a Google update happens mid-migration, for example, then the deal it doesn't mean the deal's over, but it can be renegotiated, essentially. And then obviously we write up and list the domain with in-depth analysis of all the key factors, most of what we're going to cover today, and then we use a fair valuation, or we come up with a fair valuation, we think, that uses 21 different data points, and again, lots of that is covered today. And the final point is we also offer full-scale migration, so we'll handle all of the technicalities of, you've sold your website, the new buyer wants it in their account, obviously we'll handle that whole process of moving everything over. So on to the meat of what we're going to talk about.
Just to follow
today.
that again, sorry, Adam. Yeah, just to follow on that again. So if you go back to that slide, so the revenue threshold is the best in the industry. So any other broker you go to, we kind of check this out. Like the threshold is lower than that. So we're kind of the leading on that. And right now, with our introductory kind of fee for the commission, 3.5% is also the lowest around. So we plan to keep that low once we kind of going forward. But it's not going to be as low as 3.5 forever.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, Adam.
Cool. So into the meat of what we're going to cover today. And when it comes to buying websites, there's obviously tons and tons of things you need to look at. But really, our core focus when we are looking at websites or website due diligence is to look at these 7 different topics. So we look at the revenue analysis, the traffic analysis, domain history and analysis, content analysis, backlink analysis, niche as a whole analysis, and then are there any quick wins? Now, we've created an internal Google sheet that calculates all these. So each one of these has different weightings, essentially. So, for example, the revenue analysis probably have a higher weighting than the niche analysis. But we've got a Google sheet that we can share with you, which shows how this is weighted. You can fill it out with sites that you were looking to buy, essentially, and get an overall feel for the strength of the website, and also a kind of rough guess on what the multiple should be that you should be paying, or the multiple that you should be looking to sell your website at. And if you're interested in getting access to that G Sheet, just reach out to Rushin. You can go onto the website, hit on chat and ask for Rushin, or you can email him at rushin@makelemonade.agency for access. And for our listeners on the podcast, Rushin is spelled Rushin.
Yeah, what you should probably do actually is that's Rushin's personal email. Really, just in case Rushin's off or somewhere else, you should probably use the marketplace email, which is marketplace@makelemonade.agency. As a company, we generally don't use our personal emails because we have cover for when people are around. So, yeah, best off using marketplace@makelemonade.agency.
Cool. So we're going to look. First thing we're going to look at is revenue analysis, and there's 3 key factors when we are looking at revenue analysis for a website that we are looking to buy. So the first one is the trend of the revenue. The second one is how many sources of revenue does it have, and is that diversified? And then the last factor, which I think a lot of people kind of overlook, we had a call on a concierge service recently, which this was massively overlooked, was, are there any special affiliate commission agreements, or is the website, for example, part of Mediavine Premier? And has the seller of the website been with Mediavine for 5 years, for example, and they get an extra percentage for each year they're with them? You sign up as a new person and you're already 5% lower in terms of your rev share. So that one is important. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but it's important to take into consideration and will help you on the negotiation side of things. So in terms of revenue trends, there's 3 kind of main trends of revenue. Obviously, one is revenue trend is growing, and this is ideal. The site's on an upward trajectory. Typically they tend to achieve the highest multiple. It's the most attractive kind of revenue trend there is. If you're buying a website and it's in an upward trend, usually you're going to pay the highest multiple because the seller is trying to factor in that they're selling based on maybe a 6-month or a 12-month trend, but the last 2 months, 1 month, 3 months is a lot higher than that average. But as a buyer, that's the ideal you want to see, is an upward growing trend in terms of revenue. The second one then is the revenue trend is stable. And this is still good. I mean, if you see revenue has been stable for a long time, especially kind of long-term stability, lots of buyers in the marketplace right now are looking for that. You think about how many Google updates have happened over the last couple of years, how many ups and downs lots of websites have gone through, and then if you find a website that's been stable throughout all that, and their revenue has been stable and their traffic has been stable, then essentially people are looking for that. That's still good, and you'll still achieve, and still will probably be expected to pay a fairly high multiple for websites where revenue trend is stable. The last one is obviously the worst one, where revenue trend is declining. And obviously that's not great, but we don't discount it straight away. We don't just instantly say, oh, revenue's on a decline, let's just not look at this deal anymore. There's a couple of things you probably need to factor in, and that's what's the reason behind the decline. So if revenue has dropped but traffic has stayed the same, is that because the affiliate commission changed, or they lost an affiliate partnership, or something like that? So is there a reason why the revenue's dropped rather than they've just lost traffic, for example? You want to look at how bad is the decline. If it's a fairly large website and they've lost 10% of their traffic and revenue, still probably a fairly attractive website and still probably brings in quite a lot of cash flow. So however, if it's lost 90% of its traffic, then that's a totally different thing, where it's probably not making next to nothing anymore. You also want to think about, has this happened before and have they recovered? So we are starting to see lots of this now, where websites have been hit in a Google update over the last year or two, and then the owner has implemented content updates, done link building, or done a number of different various activities, and the website has started to recover. What's important on this point, I think, though, is you don't want to buy a website that's just recovered where the owner has taken no action, because that to me feels like it's a risk. It's been hit in an update in the past, no improvements have been done, it starts to recover. I think at that point you've got to start thinking probably at risk to be hit in an update in the future, because Google didn't like something about the website initially, something's changed and they've kind of reevaluated that, but that would still play into that kind of that factor there. And then the last bit is, are they still declining or are they now stable? So we talk about stability we talked about stability being attractive. It's fine if a website was hitting or the traffic or revenue declined, I don't know, 2 years ago, but then it's been fairly stable for the last 2 years. I think that's still attractive. What's not attractive is if the website is declining month on month, and as you start looking at it and buying it and going through your due diligence, it's still declining because you don't know where the bottom is. You're going to essentially might be buying a falling knife that could go to next to nothing. Essentially, you don't know where it's going to stop. So there's a couple of factors to take into consideration there if the trend is declining. But we don't discount it out the bat. You've got to ask these questions, and this is typically where our value comes in when we start having calls with our concierge clients and we start digging into these things, especially if the revenue is declining. We start digging into these things and start to understand and build a picture of what's happened to the site. Have you done anything? Did you do anything that could be considered black hat or against, Google guidelines? Is that probably, is that why it's been hit, or did you do everything right? And essentially we've got to take into account a number of different factors when evaluating revenue trend. The next one we'll look at is diversified revenue sources. So lots of websites that we see, especially smaller websites, they typically drive their revenue from a single source, and most of the sites that we see are either display ads from Ezoic or Mediavine or AdThrive or Amazon Associates. However, sites with multiple revenue sources, they typically command high multiples, especially if they're defendable. And what I mean by defendable are, it's proprietary, so it's something either you've created yourself or it's hard for competitors to emulate. So if you've built a community and you have high engagement within that community, that's hard for a competitor to come along and emulate. Or if you've built a newsletter and it's highly engaged and you've got thousands or tens of thousands of subscribers, that is what I consider defendable, because it's really hard for a competitor to come and take that away from you or emulate that. So when we talk about diversified revenue sources, there's so many different types of ways you can diversify revenue with a website. Obviously, quick wins are display ads and affiliate commission, but you can create courses, you can do sponsorships via newsletters, you can think outside the box and you can add on an e-commerce element, and you can start either white labeling or drop shipping or creating your own products and selling them via an e-commerce store that's associated with a website. You can do print on demand. I know one of our customers in the past during COVID saw a drop off in display adverts and decided to sell print on demand products that were basically within the niche, and made a ton more money doing that than he was originally making from display ads. COVID prompted that, but if you're looking at a website to buy and it's only got, say for example, display ads, you think of this as opportunity. So it's only got display ads. Is there opportunity to add affiliate commissions? Does it have enough traffic that I could build a decent sized newsletter and sell sponsorship? Is there a community there of engaged visitors that come back that would be interested in a course, for example? Or, you've just got to think of this as, have they exhausted all of the monetization opportunities, or do some still exist? And like I say, most website owners, myself included, are typically lazy and will opt for the easy wins such as display ads and affiliate commissions, and we won't go out there and make the effort to create courses and set up newsletters and email funnels and all that kind of stuff. So see that as an opportunity, see that as a way to buy a website and instantly add value if you've got the skill set or you've got a team in place that can do that for you. This is the last part on you, which is talking about a special affiliate commission arrangements, and this works for affiliate commissions and also for things like display ads. So has the business negotiated an affiliate partnership and got themselves a special commission rate? So they've reached out to whoever they're promoting and said, hey, I don't want 5%, I want 10%. And if so, is the affiliate partner willing to pass that on and keep that agreement with you when you become the owner of the website? Now, most affiliate partners, as long as you ask them, they'll be willing to keep that arrangement because it's beneficial for them. They're obviously giving that to the old owner because they see value in the traffic that they send. But lots of people don't even ask this question. You just see the revenue and you see it comes from an affiliate partner. You don't ask about the commission structure or how that works. You go away and you sign up as a brand new affiliate. You switch out the affiliate links and all of a sudden you wonder, where's all the affiliate revenue gone? Like, why am I getting so much less with the same traffic? And it's probably because they've got some kind of, they had some kind of special commission arrangement. Similar with display ads. Like I say, we looked at a case recently where a website was in Mediavine Premier, which means they've got to be earning $500,000 a year or more. The site's still qualified for Mediavine Premier, so the new owner could sign up to that. However, as the owner had been with Mediavine for a number of years, she also had additional benefits. She also had a slightly higher revenue share that wouldn't get transferred or potentially wouldn't get transferred to the new owner as they were essentially starting a new account. So again, instantly, they buy the website, they're expecting a certain level of display ads revenue, they switch it out to their account and it's lower than they're expecting. And all of these things typically can be managed and negotiated throughout the deal, but you've just got to have the foresight and the confidence to understand this and ask the right questions and then negotiate correctly when going through that negotiation phase. Next step when we're looking at a website is to look at the traffic analysis. So there's 4 key factors here when we look at traffic analysis. Very similar to revenue analysis. We look at the trend of the traffic. Is it diversified? Those two are pretty much the same. And then we look at where does that traffic come from and how diversified is it on the website across the top pages. So revenue trend, almost exactly the same as obviously not changed the heading on there. Revenue trend, it's traffic trend, but it's almost identical to revenue trend. So if the traffic trend is growing, this is ideal, it's on an upward trajectory, people are willing to pay a high multiple for that. If the traffic trend is stable, it's still good. Website owners love stability, especially over the last couple of years. And if it's declining, it's not great. But again, you've got to ask some questions. So what was the reason behind the hit? Can you time it to a Google update? Or is it because the owner has not been working on the business? They've not posted any new content for 2 years, for example. How bad is the decline? Is it 10% decline? Is it 90% decline? Has this happened before and they've recovered? And what have they done to recover that traffic? And again, is it still declining? Or is it stabilized? Is it kind of leveled off now? Is it starting to grow again? So similar to revenue, it's not an out and out no when you see traffic declining, but you've got to understand why. And then more importantly, you've got to have a plan to turn that around and to get it back to those levels. In terms of diversified traffic sources, most of the websites that we see typically will have most of their traffic from Google. But sites with multiple traffic sources, they tend to command high multiples, very similar to diversified revenue sources. And again, especially if they are defendable. And what I mean by this is you've got large social media accounts, you've got Facebook groups, you've got controlled communities. If you're getting traffic from those places and you're not reliant on Google, being hit in a Google update, for example, typically that website is worth a lot more. People will pay for that additional security around the traffic source. But if they don't, again, this is another opportunity. So if most of the traffic comes from Google, is this a space that you could set up a YouTube channel for? Is this a niche that would do well on Pinterest? And do you have a plan in order, once you buy the website, to set up a YouTube channel and grow that and drive traffic from there and a Pinterest channel? Do you have a plan in place to set up a newsletter and start collecting emails, and then have a plan in place to drive people back to the website from that newsletter list? And that can be literally as simple as just setting up autoresponders to go out to people, which sends them back to your top pages, your top just pages on the website that they may find interesting. If you've got Facebook groups, again, similar. Have you got a plan in place or a community manager in place to manage the group? Does that already come with a deal? If they've got a Facebook group, does the community manager come with that? Typically, that's not a paid role. Someone is volunteering for that. I bought a website that came with a Facebook group last year, and There's, I think, 3 or 4 volunteers. They're very passionate about the space, and they manage the Facebook group. I don't do anything with that group anymore. They let people in, they moderate the posts, they do everything, essentially, just because they're interested in the space. So if you see a website that has all these diversified revenue sources, it's great, especially if you're buying for long-term cash flow, because you've got a fort around the website in terms of traffic. It's not going to disappear if Google makes an update or a silly change. But if you don't, do you have a plan in place to take advantage of this? Can you buy it for a slightly lower multiple because you've only got one source of traffic? And then can you add these additional sources, increase the value of the website, increase the value of the asset? This next one is where does the traffic come from? Now, we typically only look for and only accept in our marketplace websites with traffic from tier 1 countries. So that's primarily the US is the best kind of traffic. It pays the highest in terms of display ads. But then it also includes things like Canada, the UK, Australia, some European countries potentially. But what you want to stay away from is traffic from countries that wouldn't be considered tier 1. And this is typically, Indian traffic or Philippines or Eastern Europe or Asia. And in our experience, that tends to be quite hard to monetize effectively. You get a very, very low display ad revenue rate, display ad EPMV or RPM rate. It's hard to find affiliate offers that convert, typically because the wage disparity and the disposable income disparity between tier 1 countries and some of these other countries. So it's very hard to monetize that kind of traffic. And if you are considering buying a website and the majority of the traffic comes from those countries, either you've got to have a solid plan in place to monetize that, or you think you've got a solid plan in place to increase traffic from tier 1 countries, use it as a foundation to build upon. But typically we wouldn't sell a website that doesn't have tier 1 country traffic, and most other, there are marketplaces out there which do, but you've got to be mindful when you are doing your due diligence on that, essentially. And then the last point in this is how diversified is the traffic across the website? And what you don't want to see is a website that relies heavily on a handful of posts or even just one post. You want to see a healthy spread of traffic across the top 10 posts, and ideally the top 3 posts shouldn't account for more than 20% of the traffic. It's just a risk, essentially. If you have one post on the website that's bringing in 90% of the traffic, all you need for that one post is to drop a couple of keywords, and all of a sudden your website traffic has dropped by up to 90%, or something happens to that post and it moves from position 1 to page 2. You're left with a website that's just got 10% traffic now. It's just a risk that you want to kind of mitigate. And websites that are built in the correct way, typically you won't see that because of topical authority and how you have to cover the space completely, the niche completely. What you'll see is something like this screenshot where the top page covers brings in 5% and page 2 brings in 3% and 2% and so on and so forth. That is ideal, essentially, where you've got a real distribution of traffic like that. I don't see one post or 3 posts driving the most traffic as an opportunity. Unlike the other bits where we say, if they don't have X, Y, Z, it's an opportunity. We don't see this as an opportunity. We don't see, I'll buy the website for a lower multiple because one post is driving most of the traffic and I'll diversify it. I don't think that's the right way to think about this. This is just a red flag and almost a deal breaker in most cases for us, if most of the traffic comes from the top pages. Then we want to look at the domain history and analysis of the domain. So we looked at the website traffic and the revenue and how it's trending and all that kind of stuff. Now I want to go and have a look at the domain itself. And we use our age domain vetting process quite heavily for this. We've got a whole video on on how we vet age domains from start to finish. But essentially it's the same process, you just do it on a live website. So you look at the site history. Over the time, the website can go through many changes, purposes can evolve and brands can alter. So before you buy the website, it's important to understand the history of the domain. Has it been used in the past has it always been this website, or was it used in the past? Did someone buy an age domain and build on it? And if they did, did they build on a relevant domain? I mean, there was a big hoo-ha about a website that was for sale on a different marketplace last year, where it was about a website about how to make popcorn, so on like a food type website, but it was built on an age domain, a powerful age domain that used to talk about animals and sharks specifically. I think even it had the word shark in the URL. Like, that is a massive red flag, because they built on something that's just totally irrelevant. So you have to understand the site history, how it was used, was it a fresh domain, was it an age domain, and plan accordingly. The next thing you want to look at is trademarks. So purchasing a website to find out it's got a trademark can mean essentially that it's useless, and you've wasted all your money. And I do see these sites come up for sale now and again in the Facebook groups, and it'll say something like DysonVacuumCleaners.co.uk or .com, where it's clearly got a brand name mentioned in the URL. Like anything to do with brand mentions or live trademarks, or it mentions Facebook or Meta or Instagram or anything where it mentions a brand, just run away, because at some point, especially if the site grows, and obviously you're buying a website to grow it, you're going to get into trouble, and you're probably going to end up giving them the domain for free essentially, and end up losing pretty much all of your investment. So trademarks are a big red flag, or a big no-no. If you're buying a website that's US based, you can use the US government free trademark website. Just type in how do I check a trademark? How do I check a US trademark? Is the first link. Go in there, check it. The UK's got one. Just check for all the major countries essentially that you're not buying anything with a trademark. And then we want to look at the anchor text. So again, this is very similar to our age domain process. Is the anchor text mainly branded? Are there signs that they have done aggressive link building? Does the anchor text look natural? Does it contain anything related to porn or pharma, or those kinds of dodgy areas? And ideally, what you want to see is the majority of the anchor text being branded, and that could be the website name or the website URL, or any variations of those. And then, it depends really on the type of website, but some of them will, as long as they're related to the niche and the website, and it looks natural and makes logical sense that someone would link to the website using that anchor text, it's fine. If not, then you've got to start looking at, well, are those links bought? Did the owner do this intentionally? Or are they spammy links that sites pick up naturally over time, like the Blogspot type of links? And you've got to dig a little deeper then and try and understand, is this intentional? Is this harmful? Is this something that we can fix? Or is this something that is too much of a red flag and we want to walk away from? Can we use this to help negotiate with price? All those kind of factors come in when you look at the anchor text. And then the last thing is related to anchor text, but backlinks. So we're ideally looking to see referring domains with a high DR rating and do follow links. I mean, do follow, no follow links these days are almost interchangeable, I think, depending on, well, Google's even said it, they treat them pretty much the same. So, but depending on the niche of the domain, the ideal referring domains will be those with high DR sites with good topical relevance. So what I mean by that is, if you're buying a website that's all about, I don't know, lizards, for example, and reptiles, ideally you want to see a good mix of topically relevant websites linking back to it, and that could be other lizard websites, that could be vets, that could be on the high end National Geographic, for example. So you want high DR sites with good topical relevancy, and also ideally you also want links from kind of tier 1 news based websites that are linking to the website. So that could be, the New York Times, or basically websites which are hard to emulate, hard for competitors to emulate, and gives an indication that either the website's got really high quality content or really good linkable assets on there that these tier 1 websites are linking to, or the owner has been proactive and has done some kind of high quality link building like Haro or digital PR. Both are good signs essentially, but you just want to make sure that there's nothing spammy in there. You don't want backlinks from, if you're building a website about lizards, you don't want most of the backlinks being related to tech, for example. That again just gives an indicator that something not quite right is going on there. The owner may have taken some shortcuts and built some guest posts and niche edits on websites that are not related, and that is a red flag to look out for, essentially, when you're vetting. You can head on over to our website. We've got a free age domain vetting PDF that covers all these steps in more detail. The URL on here is horrible, but if you just go over to the website and click on the guide section, you'll see it there. It's 9 steps for conducting due diligence on age domains. Or if you're more of a visual learner, just go to our YouTube channel, type in how to vet an age domain, and watch me and Mark literally over the shoulder check in age domains for an hour, basically showing you what we look for. And it's the exact same process that you would use when looking at a live website. Next thing you want to look at is the content analysis. And there's 3 key factors here. One is the quality of the content. The next one is, has it been written by a generalist, an expert, a native or a non-native? And then in terms of, I've said content, I've included in here images and media, because I think that's becoming more and more important these days. So quality content, at a general level, just randomly look at 10 to 20 pages on the website and assess the quality of the content. Check if they have grammatical errors. Is it written by AI? Does it have telltale signs? Is it fluffy? Is it structured incorrectly? And essentially, you're just looking at that point to see what's the quality. Has someone taken time and pride over creating this quality? Or has it been thrown together? Doesn't quite cover the topic properly. It's a bit fluffy. It's just not quite right. That doesn't mean that's not an opportunity, because if you see sites like that, then you can buy them and improve the quality of the content, rewrite bits of it, rewrite most of it, add to it, improve it, and that's an opportunity to increase the value of the website. But essentially, you've got to know what you're buying. Are you buying top quality, or are you buying middle of the road quality, or you buy in really low quality where you've got to put a lot of work in to improve the quality of the content. This next one is interesting, and it's generalist or expert. So has the content been written by a generalist or an actual expert? And this is hard, it can be hard to tell, especially on like basic websites. And what I mean by that is, sticking with the lizards kind of theme, can lizards eat strawberries? It's hard on those kind of basic keywords to understand if it's been written by an expert or not. But what you want to look out for is comments or insights that would be hard to research, and that typically involves things such as when they say my experience, or when I did X, here is what I found, where they're talking about real life experience, and this can be faked. People can write in a tone that talks about their experience and things like that, but generally most site owners don't do that. They'll talk in a different tone. And then the other things you want to look out for to try and understand if it's a generalist or an expert is there a deep level of topical understanding? So do they understand the topic well? Can you see that they can branch off and talk about other fruits, for example, or the nutritional benefit that a certain fruit might have for a lizard? Is it demonstrating a deep understanding? Are there personal opinions and experiences? And these next 2 are interesting because, again, this can be faked to a certain degree, but does the author bio mention their experience and qualifications? We've talked about this on another video, me and Mark, where we talked about eat with the extra E now. And then the last one is the author bio a real person, and does it have links to social media? Can you click them? Is that a real social media profile, or is it literally just been set up to look like a real person, essentially? So this one's a little bit harder to try and understand, but from a due diligence perspective, if you can find a website that was generally written by an expert, then that's awesome. If it's written by a generalist, that's fine, but you've got to tie it into the content quality one prior and understand, well, did they do a good job? Did they cover everything? Do I need to budget time and money to go back and update the content, essentially? And usually you can get some of these answers as well when you talk to the seller of the website. We talked to a seller recently that started their website as a passion project. They'd worked on it for 5 years and they were now looking to sell it. It's clear that they were an expert in the space. They lived and breathed it. They took all their own imagery and they were very much an expert. So sometimes you don't even need to look at the content for that. You can just kind of get a feel for when you speak to the seller. And then the last ones on content are images and media. So what visuals are included within the content? Is it just stock images, or are they unique images? Are there any AI generated images? And what about other visuals such as infographics or videos? And again, we're looking for I've not updated the red squares here, but essentially what we are looking for here is has the owner gone the extra mile? Have they gone out of their way to find unique images? Did they take these images themselves and it ties back into them being an expert in the field? Or did they just stick stock images on there? Did they use AI to generate images? We are seeing lots of success with AI generated images at the moment. And it seems to work better than, well, just as well, if not better than stock images, but it's still new. Is that a risk down the line? Who knows? But at the moment it's working well. So you just need to understand, what does that visual look like? Did they include infographics? Have they created video? If they have created video but they don't have a YouTube, can you take that video and can you repurpose it into a YouTube channel? For the infographics, can you repurpose that, and can you turn that into an outreach campaign for link building, for example? So what assets do you have available, and then from there what opportunity comes out of those assets? Can you turn them into something usable? Does that mean that you can pay a slightly higher multiple because you've got all these different plans? But all of this just comes back to what's there and what's the plan for it. How do you plan on taking advantage? Or is there nothing there and you've got a budget, time and effort to go back and add images and create videos and add infographics and that kind of stuff? So these are the main things that we look for when we evaluate the content of the website. Next up is backlink analysis. This one's pretty simple. There's two key factors. We've got spammy signals and types of links. So spammy signals, you'll need to assess the overall backlink profile with a third-party tool such as Ahrefs or SEMrush. It's almost impossible to do this otherwise. You can look in Search Console, but it's really hard. And while almost all established websites will have some type of spammy links, such as Blogspot, we see that all the time, you want to check for other red flags, such as do they have any foreign language links, or porn, or pharma, or gambling? Is the anchor text spammy or over-optimized? We talked about anchor text, so is it over-optimized? Is it clear that they've just built a ton of guest posts with a keyword in there, and that's the main anchor text, for example? And this last one then is interesting because I don't think many people check this, but is the website linking out to spammy sites? What does that anchor text look like? Is that a sign that they sold guest posts, and how prolific did they do that? Is that a problem? Is that a red flag? Is that something you want to kind of investigate? So some spammy links are okay. No porn on pharma or gambling. You definitely don't want any over-optimized anchor text, and you want to check that outbound link profile to try and uncover if they've done anything to do with guest posts or niche edits or anything like that. And then types of links. If there's a good link profile, you can work out the type of, or you can usually work out the type of link building that's been done. So we've got really a couple of, I mean, this isn't exhaustive, but you've got three types of links. You've got niche edits and guest posts. These are usually good if they're done in the right way. If they are from good and relevant domains, it's good, but if they're from irrelevant domains or spammy domains, then that's not a good sign. So like I talked about the Lizard website, having a ton of backlinks from tech websites, that's not really good. But if you can buy relevant, powerful guest posts and niche edits on other lizard-related websites or pet-related websites, then that can be good. You've got haro links. So these are typically really high-quality links. It's help a reporter out, where you reply to pitches, essentially. And then digital PR links, and these are typically the highest quality of links, and they're defendable because you won't typically just get the New York Times or Forbes linking back to your website out of the blue. You have to go and work for it. You have to pitch. You have to create a data-driven asset typically and pitch that out. So I say it's defendable because lots of your competitors either won't invest the time or the money to go and acquire those kinds of links. So high quality links from hard, you want to look for high quality links from hard to replicate sources. Keep an eye out for irrelevant links, and again, talk about anchor text and spammy anchor text and over-optimized. And then this one is most referring domains typically on a healthy website would go to the homepage. You'd expect that from pretty much most link profiles. There are examples where that's not the case, but in most cases, most of the referring domains will go to the homepage, and then you'll have, your pages underneath where you'll have a handful of referring domains. But I saw one website recently where it's clear the owner had been doing insane amounts of backlinking because each single piece of content had 300-400 referring domains pointing to it for every single post. I was like, that just doesn't look natural. Check the anchor text, and it's just a mismatch of keywords, and nothing is really branded, and you're like, oh my god, what's going on here? That's the website's still ranking okay, but that's just an accident waiting to happen. That's you want to stay away from that kind of stuff.
Another quick plug in on that, digital PR. If you're interested in digital PR, then that's something else that we offer too. So if you're interested in getting top tier links from top tier sites, then head over again to the Make Lemonade website and check out the service there.
Yeah, for sure. So three key factors when we look at niche analysis. The first one is seasonality. Is it trendy or evergreen, and is there space for expansion? So for seasonality, we need to analyze basically is the niche goods, and if there's space for kind of expansion within that seasonality. And it's not really a red flag and shouldn't affect the valuation much, but you've got to understand it, and you've got to look out for niches that have high seasonality, such as gardening or golf or swimming pools. Anything really has some level of seasonality, but some are a lot more than others. So the easy way to do this is to use Google Trends. Don't just Google Trend gardening and see, is that seasonal? You want to dig in a little bit further and understand, set it to the correct country, set it to the correct date times, usually over 5 years, and then start Googling in Google Trends different topics that gardeners would search for. And just look at the seasonality. Does it peak for a month or two in the summer and then drop off in the winter? And can you prepare for that? You can then look at that and take that into consideration when you're looking at the revenue analysis. All right, revenue trend might be on a downward trend for the last 6 months, but is it due to seasonality? It also allows you to be prepared for a high and a low season. I've got a website that is seasonal, peaks in the summer and dies off in the winter, and I've been working very hard on it during the low season, ready for the high season. So I was prepared to, I knew that was coming. I knew the winter would be lower revenue, and I know that kind of around now is the peak time, and I've been working on the website as my primary focus within my portfolio, ready for this high season. And like I say, usually it doesn't really affect the valuation too much. It will do if it's short-term seasonality, like the next point, such as Christmas. I also had another website that it talked about templates, things like business templates and stuff, but also had a section around Christmas card templates and Santa lists and that kind of stuff, and that just had used to get a massive spike around Christmas time. But if you looked at Google Analytics and you didn't understand what was going on there, you just think, oh my god, what's going on here? Every November and December there's this big spike and then nothing, and that doesn't really make sense from a template website. But when you start digging in, you understand that. And then usually you can build that into the negotiation. What's that trend been over the last 3 years around Christmas time? Does it stay steady? Is it getting smaller every year? And you try and build that into the multiple and the negotiation. And then, is it trendy or evergreen? Everyone probably remembers fidget spinners. They were massive for probably like a month or two, and then they died down. If you're buying a website that's in a trendy space like this, it's a huge red flag. Search volume is going to die as soon as the trend dies. And the question you need to ask yourself is, can you see the space still being around in 5 or even 10 years? And if not, you might want to consider avoiding it. Not necessarily, but you might want to think, what's my plan with this? Am I planning to keep this site for 5 years? Am I planning to flip it after 2 years? You just need to consider your goals. But if it's a short-term fad, 100% ignore it. And ideally, you're looking for evergreen issues that don't change much typically, and they've been around for a long time, such as gardening, pets, or finance, which is stable essentially. So avoid fads. Think long-term about the niche. I think evergreen. And again, use Google Trends to check the long-term viability. If you put fidget spinners into Google Trends, you see a massive spike and then a very quick drop-off. So Google Trends essentially is your friend when you're looking at these kinds of trends. And then, is there space for expansion? So if the site has covered everything within a niche, then that's typically a red flag, and that means that the space is too narrow. An example would be a site that focuses on pet insurance only for pugs, but usually it's easy to expand out, assuming that the URL allows it. Some sites are limited by their domain choice. So for example, if you buy in puginsurance.com versus welovedogs.com, you kind of tied into just selling pug insurance with puginsurance.com. Whereas if it's We Love Dogs and you've covered everything to do with insurance for pugs, that's awesome, because now you can go to the next pet and you can cover pet insurance for Labradors or Golden Doodles or whatever the next one is. So things to think about here are, does the domain allow for expansion? How big is the overall niche? Again, what does the site look like in the long term, 5 years plus? And are there other examples of large sites in the space? So one thing that we always do is go away and look for competitors in the space. Are they doing a good job? How big they are? That kind of thing, almost as aspirational goals. If you can't find any sites that are aspirational in terms of their traffic or their revenue, you've probably got to ask yourself why, because chances are you haven't found this magical space where nobody has decided to start a website. There's websites on pretty much every topic these days, so you probably haven't found that. You've probably just found a bad niche, essentially. And then the last point then are quick wins. So are there any quick wins? And if there are quick wins, this is a massive opportunity for the buyer. And very quickly they can increase the site value and either flip it or continue to develop it. So I've put a couple of quick wins that we would look out for. This list is definitely not exhaustive, but they're not using display ads. They're just monetizing with affiliate commission. We've done tests, Matt Daly's done tests, there's loads of people out there that have done tests which typically show that affiliate click-through rates and commission doesn't really change if you add display adverts. In fact, in Matt's test, he saw affiliate revenue go up, and his hypothesis essentially was that people expect to see display ads on a website now. You go to any major website, any news website, and it's full of adverts. People just expect that. They're almost blind to it. And if it's not on there, it almost looks like this is a weird website, doesn't have any adverts. So if you see a website that is monetized just through affiliate commission and doesn't have display ads, that's a very quick win. The next one is switching display advert network. We've just switched a couple of our sites over from Ezoic over to Mediavine. We've seen anywhere from 100 to 150% increase in revenue. So if you are buying a website that has 50,000 sessions a month, and you think it qualifies for Mediavine, but they're currently using Google AdSense or Ezoic, buy that website right now and switch the network over to Mediavine. There's also the opportunity for arbitrage. I've been speaking to a couple of people recently that are doing this. It's changed now in order to bring another site into Mediavine. It used to be that you had to have one website at 50,000 sessions, and then you could bring other websites in at 25 or 30,000 sessions. But that's changed now. You now have to be part of Mediavine Pro in order to do that, or part of Mediavine Premier. But people are doing that. They've got a Mediavine account. They are eligible for Pro and they pay for it, and they're eligible for Premier, and they are buying up websites now which are getting 25, 30,000 sessions a month, switching the ad network over to their Mediavine account, especially if they've been with them for a couple of years and they get extra percent for every year they've been with them, and they're seeing, on the low end, couple of tens of percent increase, and on the high end, like we've seen, hundreds to 150+% increase in revenue. So that's a really quick win. Next one is CRO not done correctly. So are there tables on the website? Is there comparison boxes? Are the colors and call to action buttons? Do they look good? Do they stand out? Are you using the opposite color on the color palette to your primary colors on the website? All these kinds of things are quick wins, and you don't have to update every piece of content on the website. You can go through your top 20 posts and just update the CRO on those. It's the 80-20 rule, and typically you will see an increase, massive increase in revenue overnight. And then the last one are, they're not using affiliate links. We see lots of websites where they link into a website that has an affiliate program, and they're not using them. They haven't set up an affiliate link for them, or they have, but the affiliate link is not quite right. I was looking at a website recently or helping diagnose an issue with the Google Associates account recently, where they'd signed up for an Amazon.co.uk account and got the Amazon Associates ID, and then was using that on an Amazon.com link where they didn't have an Amazon.com Associates account. So they were just saying there's no clicks. What's going on here? So sometimes just affiliate links are not even implemented or set up correctly, or they're linking to products that are discontinued or been out of stock for a year, and just switching the product or finding an alternative provider that still has the product, selling the product. These are super quick wins that you can implement pretty much within the first week or two of buying a website, and can have a massive impact. And that's it. That is my presentation on, very quickly, everything that you should look for when you are doing website due diligence, and how it potentially can affect the multiples and all different bits like that. So if you've got any questions, shoot us an email. If you have a website that you're interested in selling and you want us to do this process on the website for you, shoot us an email. If you're looking to buy a website and you want someone to do all of this stuff for you already, shoot us an email. They're on the website marketplace. We do a certain level of due diligence. It's always recommended to do your own, but we're very strict in our due diligence criteria. So lots of these things are already checked before we even list the website. So you could be kind of safe in the knowledge that you were just doing your own due diligence as like a backup, essentially. So that's it. That's my overview on website due diligence, Mark.
Excellent, thanks. Nice and detailed. That's really good. As we mentioned, there's a if you're listening on the podcast, there is a video version of this, or a presentation version. You don't get a whole lot more out of it. You didn't really miss too much, but we'll put the link into the description of the podcast, so you can go and grab that if you want to take a look. But yeah, other than that, yeah, thanks for that, Adam. We're going to be doing a few more podcasts going forward. James still going to be a fixture on the podcast, still going to be his regular Tuesday slot. It's just that Adam and I are going to start doing a few more as well, to add into the mix, so hopefully providing you kind of more value. So James definitely going to be mainly still on the interview side of it. We're probably going to be doing more knowledge transfer, possibly adding some interviews in there as well, but we won't reveal too much right now, but we're going to be doing a whole lot more in that space. So
Yes,
any feedback, always welcome. We appreciate that. But yeah, again, if you're looking to sell a site, currently at 3.5% commission, check it out on the website. And our concierge service, if you're looking to buy a site, will hold your hand all the way. Anything else to add, Adam, before we kind of wrap it up? Our first one for a while.
Nope. I think that's it. I feel
pretty
like
much bang on the hour
rusty.
as well.
I feel a little bit not very loose, to be fair. Not very loose on the camera. A couple more of these, and we'll be back in the swing of it.
Yeah, I know. You did. Yeah, I know. It was such a regular fixture for us for such a long time, and then we handed it over to James, and now look. So, yeah, but yeah, we'll get back into it. We'll loosen up. Okay.
Awesome.
Then.
All right.
All right. Thanks very much, everybody.
Hope everyone has a good week.
Thanks for listening, as always, and catch you again soon.